The Grand Canyon is a steep-sided canyon carved by the Colorado River in Arizona, United States. The Grand Canyon is 277 miles, 446 kilometers long, up to 18 miles 29 kilometers wide and attains a depth of over a mile, 6,093 feet or 1,857 meters. The canyon and adjacent rim are contained within Grand Canyon National Park, the Kaibab National Forest, Grand Canyon Parashant National Monument, the Hualapai Indian Reservation, the Havasupai Indian Reservation and the Navajo Nation. President Theodore Roosevelt was a major proponent of the preservation of the Grand Canyon area and visited it on numerous occasions to hunt and enjoy the scenery. Nearly 2 billion years of Earth's geological history have been exposed as the Colorado River and its tributaries cut their channels through layer after layer of rock while the Colorado Plateau was uplifted. While some aspects about the history of incision of the canyon are debated by geologists, several recent studies support the hypothesis that the Colorado River established its course through the area about 5 to 6 million years ago. Since that time, the Colorado River has driven the downcutting of the tributaries and retreat of the cliffs, simultaneously deepening and widening the canyon. For thousands of years, the area has been continuously inhabited by Native Americans, who built settlements within the canyon and its many caves. The Pueblo people considered the Grand Canyon a holy site, and made pilgrimages to it. The first European known to have viewed the Grand Canyon was Garcia López de Cárdenas from Spain, who arrived in 1540. The Ancestral Puebloans were a Native American culture centered on the present-day Four Corners area of the United States. They were the first people known to live in the Grand Canyon area. The cultural group has often been referred to in archaeology as the Anasazi, although the term is not preferred by the modern Puebloan peoples. The word, Anasazi, is Navajo for enemy ancestors, or alien ancestors. Archaeologists still debate when this distinct culture emerged. The current consensus, based on terminology defined by the Pecos classification, suggests their emergence was around 1200 BCE during the Basketmaker II era. Beginning with the earliest explorations and excavations, researchers have believed that the Ancestral Puebloans are ancestors of the modern Pueblo peoples. In addition to the Ancestral Puebloans, a number of distinct cultures have inhabited the Grand Canyon area. The Cajonino lived to the west of the Grand Canyon, between 500 and 1200 CE. The Cajonino were ancestors of the Yuman, Havasupai, and Hualapai peoples who inhabit the area today. The Sinagua were a cultural group occupying an area to the southeast of the Grand Canyon, between the Little Colorado River and the Salt River, between approximately 500 and 1425 CE. The Sinagua may have been ancestors of several Hopi clans. By the time of the arrival of Europeans in the 16th century, newer cultures had evolved. The Hualapai inhabit a 100-mile, 160 kilometers, stretch along the pine-clad southern side of the Grand Canyon. The Havasupai have been living in the area near Cataract Canyon since the beginning of the 13th century, occupying an area the size of Delaware. The Southern Paiutes live in what is now southern Utah and northern Arizona. The Navajo, or Dene, live in a wide area stretching from the San Francisco Peaks eastwards towards the Four Corners. Archaeological and linguistic evidence suggests the Navajo descended from the Athabascan people near Great Slave Lake, Canada, who migrated after the 11th century. In the mythology of some Third Mesa Hopi communities, the Grand Canyon was the location humankind arose out of the Third World from Asipapu. In September 1540, under orders from the conquistador Francisco Vasquez de Coronado to search for the fabled seven cities of Cibola, Captain Garcia López de Cárdenas, along with Hopi guides and a small group of Spanish soldiers, traveled to the south rim of the Grand Canyon between Desert View and Moran Point. Pablo de Melgrasa, Juan Galeras, and a third soldier descended some one-third of the way into the canyon until they were forced to return because of lack of water. In their report, they noted that some of the rocks in the canyon were bigger than the Great Tower of Seville, Giralda. It is speculated that their Hopi guides likely knew routes to the canyon floor, but may have been reluctant to lead the Spanish to the river. No Europeans visited the canyon again for more than 200 years. Fathers Francisco Atanasio Dominguez and Silvestre Vélez de Escalante were two Spanish priests who, with a group of Spanish soldiers, explored southern Utah and traveled along the north rim of the canyon in Glen and Marble Canyons in search of a route from Santa Fe to California in 1776. They eventually found a crossing, formerly known as the crossing of the Fathers, that today lies under Lake Powell. Also in 1776, Fray Francisco Garces, a Franciscan missionary, spent a week near Havasupai, unsuccessfully attempting to convert a band of Native Americans to Christianity. He described the canyon as profound. James Ohio Patty, along with a group of American trappers and mountain men, may have been the next European to reach the canyon, in 1826. Jacob Hamblin, a Mormon missionary, was sent by Brigham Young in the 1850s to locate suitable river crossing sites in the canyon. Building good relations with local Hualapai and white settlers, he found the crossing of the Fathers, and the locations that would become Lee's Ferry in 1858 and Pierce Ferry, later operated by, and named for, Harrison Pierce, only the latter two sites suitable for ferry operation. He also acted as an advisor to John Wesley Powell, before his second expedition to the Grand Canyon, serving as a diplomat between Powell and the local native tribes to ensure the safety of his party. Grand Canyon National Park is one of the world's premier natural attractions, attracting about 5 million visitors per year. Overall, 83% were from the United States, California 12%, Arizona 9%, Texas 5%, Florida 3%, and New York 4% represented the top domestic visitors. 17% of visitors were from outside the United States. The most prominently represented nations were the United Kingdom, 3%, Canada, 4%, Japan, 2%, Germany, 2%, and the Netherlands, 1%. The South Rim is open all year round, weather permitting. The North Rim is generally open mid-May to mid-October. Aside from casual sightseeing from the South Rim, averaging 7,000 feet, 2,100 meters, above sea level, rafting, hiking, running, and helicopter tours are popular. The Grand Canyon Ultra Marathon is a 78-mile, 126 kilometers race over 24 hours. The floor of the valley is accessible by foot, muleback, or by boat or raft from upriver. Hiking down to the river and back up to the rim in one day is discouraged by park officials because of the distance, steep and rocky trails, change in elevation, and danger of heat exhaustion from the much higher temperatures at the bottom. Rescues are required annually of unsuccessful rim-to-rim travelers. Nevertheless, hundreds of fit and experienced hikers complete the trip every year. Camping on the north and south rims is generally restricted to established campgrounds, and reservations are highly recommended, especially at the busier south rim. There is at-large camping available along many parts of the north rim managed by Kaibab National Forest. North rim campsites are only open seasonally due to road closures from weather and winter snowpack. All overnight camping below the rim requires a backcountry permit from the Backcountry Office (BCO). Each year Grand Canyon National Park receives approximately 30,000 requests for backcountry permits. The park issues 13,000 permits, and close to 40,000 people camp overnight. The earliest a permit application is accepted is the first of the month, 4 months before the proposed start month. Tourists wishing for a more vertical perspective can go skydiving, board helicopters and small airplanes in Boulder, Las Vegas, Phoenix and Grand Canyon National Park Airport, 7 miles from the South Rim, for canyon flyovers. Scenic flights are no longer allowed to fly within 1,500 feet, 460 meters, of the rim within the national park because of a late 1990s crash. The last aerial video footage from below the rim was filmed in 1984. However, some helicopter flights land on the Havasupai and Hualapai Indian reservations within Grand Canyon, outside of the park boundaries. In 2007, the Hualapai tribe opened the glass-bottomed Grand Canyon Skywalk on their property, Grand Canyon West. The skywalk is about 250 miles, 400 kilometers, by road from Grand Canyon Village at the South Rim. The skywalk has attracted thousands of visitors a year, most from Las Vegas. In 2016, skydiving at the Grand Canyon became possible with the first Grand Canyon skydiving operation opening up at the Grand Canyon National Park Airport, on the South Rim. In 2014, a developer announced plans to build a multimedia complex on the canyon's rim called the Grand Canyon Escalade. On 420 acres, 170 hectares, there would be shops, an IMAX theater, hotels and an RV park. A gondola would enable easy visits to the canyon floor where a riverwalk of connected walkways, an eatery, a tramway station, a seating area and a wastewater package plant would be situated. On October 31, 2017, the Navajo Nation Council voted against the project. Lippin Point is a promontory located on the south rim. This point is located to the east of the Grand Canyon Village along the Desert View Drive. There is a parking lot for visitors to Lippin Point. The trailhead to the Tanner Trail is located just before the parking lot. The view from Lippin Point shows a wide array of rock strata and the Unkar Delta area in the inner canyon.